Afternoon, we're coming on the air with breaking news about a shooting at a Memphis area grocery store. It happened at a Krogger in Collierville, Tennessee. Here's what we know right now. According to police, 13 people were shot. One person has been killed. The shooter is also dead. Police say it appears to be self-inflicted. Just moments ago, authorities briefed the press with this update.
At this time, the shooter is deceased. We believe that's going to be from self-inflicted gunshot wound. We have 13 victims. Our hearts go out to those that were injured. We do have one fatality, and our thoughts and prayers are with those family members.
The chief of police in Collierville. Joining us now is former ATF special agent and NBC News analyst Jim Kavanaugh. Jim, we heard the chief also say that there was a separate crime scene or a separate area of interest, the car that the suspect may have driven himself there. What could they be looking for?
They're going to have to sweep it for bombs, Lester. It's routine when you get a mass shooter like this. They're going to ice their booby traps in the car. They're also going to have to do the same as at his residence. But they're saying they believe he acted alone.
All right. I want to bring in now NBC News law enforcement analyst Cedric Alexander. You've been watching along with us the press conference moments ago. Any early read, anything we should be observing or thinking about as we watch this play out?
Well, I think what's going to be interesting here, Les, as this continues to unfold, is certainly everybody's going to be looking for a motive. But here again, I think there's a lot of preliminary investigative techniques and tools that we have to utilize if you have the assailant himself who is deceased on the scene. But unfortunately, that's a large tragedy anytime you have anyone killed and that number of people who have been severely injured in this shooting. But it certainly is going to be important to find out what precipitated all of this, what was the motivation behind this. And clearly, for all of us who may be watching, we've seen these images so many times before.
Well, presumably they'll have whatever statements he made to go on. I would think social media will be a prime place for authorities to begin searching right away.
And certainly it will. And any witness statements and any family and friends that may come forth to help in this investigation is going to be hugely important. But it appears right now from just what we just heard from the chief, this is still very somewhat early in this investigation. But those are some of the primary factors that's going to have to be explored as they go forward.
Let me bring back Jim Kavanaugh. Jim, we have covered a lot of these regrettably together. Do we tend to assume that these are people that had a personal issue with any of the victims or not?
Yep.
Well, it's hard to say right now, Lester, because everybody is so stressed in the country. You know, I was the agent in charge in Tennessee, and I had Memphis and Collierville, the suburbs there. Everybody's so stressed down there. The hospitals are overrun with COVID. Now you have 13 gunshot victims. You know, who knows what's driving them? And it could be personal. It could be, some other motive we don't see. We can't make that judgment just yet. Once they get into his electronic devices, his phone, computer, once they get to his residence, get his identity, look back at his internet feeds, like the chief was saying. Once they get into all that evidence, the motive will emerge. And he could also have left a message because we know he committed suicide, what the Collierville chief told us. So he could have left a note or a message, told his purpose. Some do, some don't. It's about half and half. So we could still learn why he did it, even though it may be a twisted, of course, reason why he did it.
Yeah. Jim Kavanaugh, thank you. Let me bring in our justice correspondent, Pete Williams, watching along with us. What have you learned, Pete? Unfortunately, Pete, I thought it was only me, but we're not able to hear you for technical reasons. But let me just quickly wrap up what we know. This is Collierville, Tennessee, near Memphis. A gunman apparently in a Krogger opening fire on a number of people. 13 victims, one fatality, and the shooter, according to police, took his own life for a second fatality there. They're still getting a handle on the number of injured as some of the victims were transported. Others have presented at local hospitals, but those are the numbers we know for right now. We'll continue to monitor the information coming out of the area, and as events warrant, we'll come back on the air. For now, I'm Lester Holt, NBC News. Good night.
Collierville, Tennessee, a gunman who killed one person and wounded 14 others in a Tennessee grocery store did not appear to target anyone specifically as he rampaged through the building on a sunny Thursday afternoon. Police said the entire shooting was over within minutes as first responders swarmed to the scene. On Friday, some of the wounded were still in critical condition and fighting for their lives, Collierville Police Chief Dale Lane said at a morning news conference. Still, the outcome could have been worse, he said. The shooter, a third-party vendor who police said worked at the store on a daily basis, died with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound within a couple of minutes of police arriving at the Krogger in the upscale suburb outside of Memphis. The gunman, who Lane said acted alone, was later identified by Major David Townsend as UK Thang. Police searched his home Thursday and removed electrical devices, Lane said. We all want to know the why, Lane said, of the shooter's motive. But today, less than 24 hours, we're not ready to tell you that. The victims included 10 employees and 5 customers. Lane identified the woman who was killed as Olivia King. Friends told the Commercial Appeal she was a widowed mother of 3. On Facebook, one of King's sons, Wes King, posted about his mother's death. He wrote that he had spoken to the trauma surgeon and learned his mother was shot in the chest. They tried to save her at the hospital, no avail, he wrote. I apologize for the graphic details, but this type of crime needs to be stopped being glossed over and sanitized. No one deserved this. Krogger worker Brigitte Dickerson told WREG-TV she was working as a cash register when she heard what at first she thought appeared to be balloons. And here he comes right behind us and started shooting, Dickerson said. And he kept on shooting. He shot one of my coworkers in the head and shot one of my customers in the stomach. Lane said police received a call around 1:30 p.m. about the shooting and arrived almost immediately, finding multiple people with gunshot wounds upon entering the building. He said officers of every rank ran into the building and were joined by off-duty firemen. There was no delay in providing medical help, he said. Nobody wants to go into that scene, I can promise you, Lane said. I mean, there were bloody people running out of the building, and there was not one blue uniform that hesitated from the bottom all the way up. We were trying to help. Lane said police, SWAT team, and other officers grocery store sounded like they were directly over my head, he said, adding he could feel the concussion of every shot and knew the weapon was very powerful. As the firing started, I dove into the front of my vehicle onto the ground to provide the most cover for myself and instructed the people around me panicking, trying to get into the cars, not to get into their cars, but to actually hide, he said. Collierville is a growing suburb of more than 51,000 people with a median household income of about $114,000, according to the U.S. Census figures. Set in a rural and historical area, the town square has largely become known for its boutiques and bed and breakfasts. Earlier this year, Tennessee became the latest state to allow most adults 21 and older to carry handguns without first clearing the state-level background check and training. Why would you do that? Why? The measure was signed into law by Republican Governor Bill Lee over objections from some law enforcement groups and gun control advocates concerned the measure would possibly lead to more gun violence. The Krogger Company, based in Cincinnati, Ohio, issued a statement Friday morning saying it was horrified and heartbroken by the shootings and was cooperating with the law enforcement. The company in 2019 asked its customers not to openly carry guns while visiting its stores. The statement confirmed that the shooter was a third-party vendor, but declined to provide additional details and referred questions to the Collierville Police Department. The Collierville store still closed until further notice, but will continue to provide pay and other support to employees, the statement said. I really think that this was a planned idea from Republicans, from both political parties, to have these types of situations happen, to purposely have these types of gross lack of oversight. So you could have people without background checks get guns, end up killing people, and then they could, the Democrats will swarm in and say, we need to have more gun control. We need to protect you people. We need to have more restrictions. Take away your guns. And to now they could fully push this new world order agenda. That's what I think it is. Call me a conspiracy theorist. I don't care. You cannot do something so lame brain like this. You can't. In the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of people losing jobs, you decide to have people are allowed to carry handguns without first clearing a state level background check and training. This measure was signed into law by Republican Governor Bill Lee. Nobody sees here that this is possibly planned out. That's what I think. I think this is just orchestrated chaos. That's what I think. This was orchestrated chaos. Order out of chaos. I see it that way. I really do. And I see that this is a perfect way to have your rights taken away, further stripped away, the right to bear arms. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent. This should not have happened at all. This should not have happened at all. Tell me what you think in the comments about this. What do you think about it? Do you think this is totally a blunder on the Republican side? Do you think that you could see that this was purposely done to have a way to bring in the new world order, have politicians find an excuse to take away our guns? Let me know in the comments. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. I sure as hell think it is.